You're not lacking discipline. You've never lacked discipline. What you're lacking is an irreversible decision. A firm, non-negotiable statement to yourself, no matter what happens, I will not give up. People think they need more discipline. They believe they need to read more books, learn more skills, listen to more motivational videos to stay consistent. But what they truly lack isn't discipline. It's a decision that is not vague, not half-hearted, a decision with no way back. And the truth is, most people have never made that decision. They've only tried, they've only intended to, they've only started with the hope that things would go smoothly. But the moment difficulties show up, they return to the starting line without realizing they're training themselves to become a systematic quitter. You don't need more inspiration, you need an honest moment. A moment where you look in the mirror without flinching and say, I've delayed long enough. That's not an inspirational declaration, that's an order that begins a new chapter, where you no longer allow yourself to make excuses, no longer sit around overanalyzing, no longer wait for the right mood. That moment will never come. You've waited long enough, now's the time to act. Inspiration is fleeting. It comes and goes. It excites you for a few hours, then leaves you hollow. A true decision, on the other hand, has weight. It anchors you when everything shakes. It's what keeps you going when no one believes, when no one praises, when no results have shown up yet. Discipline isn't born from inspiration. It's born the moment you firmly say, I won't quit anymore, and you keep that promise. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to be firm enough not to let yourself back out every time you're tired, every time you're discouraged, every time you see no progress. The issue isn't that you don't know what to do. The issue is that you keep postponing the day you truly start. You keep hoping that one day you'll feel ready, but that day never comes. No one wakes up feeling perfectly whole, completely doubt-free, absolutely certain of how things will unfold. The ones who get things done are those who start before they're ready and who keep going even when no one is cheering. You've taken action before, but you didn't maintain it, not because you're weak, but because you never truly locked the exit door. In your mind, there was always an escape hatch. If it gets too hard, I can stop. Just one tiny crack like that is enough to shatter all effort, because your brain is very skilled at convincing you to give up and will whisper, it's okay to rest a bit, or no one's paying attention anyway, or you did your best. And you'll listen if you haven't made a clear decision. What you need isn't daily motivation. What you need is a non-negotiable commitment, a commitment that says, regardless of how you feel today, you'll still do it. No waiting for excitement, no waiting for the right time. Do it because you said you would. That's it. The most successful people aren't the ones who are great at staying fired up. They're the ones who decided never to let the fire die. Even if it rains, even if the wind howls, even if the whole world around them is soaked in doubt. When you dare to make that decision, you'll see yourself change. You'll no longer be easily shaken by small failures. You'll no longer be controlled by your emotions. You'll stop being pulled back by old habits because you've drawn a line. From this point on, I am different. And that difference doesn't need to be recognized by others. You know it. And that knowing gives you strength. Quitting is a choice, and if it still exists an option in your mind, you will eventually take it sooner or later. Until you erase that option entirely, you'll never know what your true strength really is. Don't try again one more time. Begin as if there's no second chance. As if you don't keep your word this time, you'll lose everything. Because in truth, you will lose trust in yourself, lose self-respect, lose the ability to hold your own worth. Those losses are silent, but when they break, you'll find yourself falling deeply with nothing to hold on to. I don't need to know how many times you've failed before. I just want you to understand this. You've never lacked discipline. You've just never made a real decision. And if today you dare to do so, everything will change. Not in a day or two, but in the deepest way possible. Because for the first time, you kept your promise to yourself. And that's something no one can ever take from you. You don't lose focus because you lack willpower. You lose focus because you've been living in a world designed to break your concentration every single second. And worse, you don't realize how serious it is. every time you open your phone just to check for a moment, every time you respond to an unimportant message, every time you turn on the TV to relax a bit before working, uh, you're training your brain to walk away from what matters most. You're not lazy, you're not undisciplined, you're just constantly being scattered by things that have become default. And precisely because they're so familiar, you've stopped being on guard. No one forces you to sit for hours on social media, yet somehow you still do. No one makes you check your phone 50 times a day, yet somehow your fingers keep scrolling on their own. The problem isn't the action, it's the reflex. You're no longer thinking, you're just reacting, like a programmed machine. You intend to work, but then open a browser tab. You plan to read a book, but then check a message. You want to write down your plan, but get pulled into a random video. These things are small, but they chip away at your ability to focus until you become someone great at starting, but rarely finishing. You're not the first person to fall into this trap, and you won't be the last, but you have to be the one who stops before it's too late. Because no consistency can exist in a mind constantly pulled in 10 different directions. You can't build anything lasting if every 10 minutes something interrupts and you allow it. Your greatest enemy is not failure, it's distraction disguised as a modern habit. You think you're just watching for fun, but the brain doesn't distinguish between entertainment and training. It simply learns what you repeat. If you spend 2-3 hours a day consuming short, scattered, sensational content, you're training yourself to lose the ability to stick with anything that demands sustained focus. A 200-page book starts to feel hard to read. A 1-month project begins to overwhelm you. A habit that takes 21 days to form falls apart because you're used to jumping from one thing to the next without feeling guilty. You can't wait for the world to become quieter. You have to create quiet for yourself. And that doesn't come from trying hard to focus. It comes from removing what's distracting you in the first place. Don't say, I'll use social media less, delete the app. Don't say, I won't be distracted by messages, turn off notifications. Don't trust that you'll resist temptation, clear the battlefield. So there's nothing to resist. This isn't discipline, it's strategy. Because if you let your brain face temptation every hour, you'll lose and you'll blame yourself instead of realizing that the real enemy is in your pocket, never turning off. Focus is the most expensive asset you have because everything that truly matters, learning, building, loving, growing, requires it. And everything around you is trying to steal it. You think you're using your phone. The truth is it's using you. Every tap, every scroll, every aimless second, it's all taking you one step further from your goal. And the scariest part is you still think. You don't need to live like a hermit. You just need to reset your priorities. A deep, uninterrupted work session each day will take you further than years of fragmented effort. Don't let invisible distractions destroy a masterpiece before it's even begun. Create a space that doesn't allow noise to exist. Set boundaries, not because you're weak, but because you know that true freedom begins with control. Every day you allow yourself to be distracted, you make consistency 10 times harder, not because you're incapable, but because your energy is leaking into things that give you nothing in return. And then you wonder, why can't I stay consistent? Why do I keep losing direction? The answer is hidden in the habits you've labeled as normal. Distraction isn't a one-time problem. It becomes a way of life if you don't control it. And once it becomes your lifestyle, it destroys your ability to lead your life. You can't drive a car pulled by 10 people walking in 10 different directions. You need to take back the wheel. And the first step is to stop, look around, and realize, how many useless things have I let come between me and my goal? You're not short on time. Your time is being stolen by things you think are trivial, but if you add them all up, they're not. One phone check takes 3 minutes. But if you do that 40 times a day, you've lost 2 hours. Not on your work, not on your real rest, not on the people you love, but on things that leave you with nothing but emptiness. You have to decide whether you're still willing to accept that. Focus is selection, consistency is the result. If you truly want something, you have to prove it by clearing everything that blocks the path to it. There is no shortcut that replaces determination, And no success ever comes from a mind constantly pulled in every direction. You can't fly if you keep letting yourself be dragged down by things that don't matter. It's time to cut the cords. It's time to reclaim your wholeness. No one will do it for you. No one can. But you can, starting this very moment. Have you ever noticed that the moment you think about doing something important, going to the gym, opening your laptop to work, making a call to resolve a lingering issue, just seconds later, your brain starts inventing reasons to delay? It's not urgent yet. I'll do it after finishing this coffee. It can wait until tomorrow. That resistance doesn't come from anywhere else but within you, and it doesn't take long to arrive. It shows up almost instantly, like a protective reflex, not to help you, but to pull you back into what feels safe, familiar, and comfortable, even when that comfort is quietly destroying your progress, your plans, and your self-respect. You don't need to feel ashamed about this. It happens to all of us. The human brain wasn't designed to grow. It was designed to survive, which means anything new, difficult, or uncertain is flagged as dangerous, and it will do whatever it takes to drag you back into the safe zone. The trap is this: you think you're just thinking it through, but in reality, you're letting hidden procrastination take control. The longer you think, the less likely you are to act. The more you analyze, the more tangled you become. And eventually what matters gets buried under a pile of seemingly reasonable but utterly useless excuses. To escape this loop, there's only one way. Act before your brain has a chance to respond. Simple, raw, unromantic, but effective. Feel like you need to make a call? Pick up the phone immediately. Don't think. Need to write an important email? Open your laptop and type the first sentence. Want to get in shape? Stand up, put on your shoes, and walk out the door. No need for a perfect plan. No need for motivation. No need for emotion, just a single motion. A direct command from you to yourself. Start now before your brain begins whispering its usual resistance. Emotions are not a reliable guide. Some days you'll feel sharp, other days exhausted. Some moments you'll be full of determination, others you won't want to do anything at all. If your actions depend on how you feel, you'll never get far. You'll live in a cycle of almost started, nearly did it, but nothing ever really changes. Acting before resistance is the only way to break the old pattern and build new habits. Every time you do something before you feel ready, you're rewiring your own response map. Think about every time you've procrastinated. Didn't it start with just a few minutes, then a few hours, then stretched into days, maybe even weeks? All because you allowed yourself just a little more time. And in that very moment, you gave away your power. Failing to act doesn't just slow you down, it makes you doubt yourself. Every time you don't do what you know you need to do, you chip away at your own self-trust. And that's the most dangerous thing of all. You stop believing your own promises. On the other hand, action, even small action, builds trust. You do one thing, then another, then another. You start to believe that you're someone who keeps their word. You begin to see yourself as trustworthy. And from there, everything changes. Because the person who keeps their word to themselves can go anywhere. But the one who silently breaks it will always carry a quiet, invisible sense of failure. Unnameable, but always present. You don't need to change your whole life in a day. You just need to win the first 5 seconds, the moment you decide whether you'll act or delay again. Set a non-negotiable rule. When you think of something important, you act within 5 seconds. Don't give your brain time to strike back. Do it every time, every day. You'll start noticing the difference in just a week. You'll feel a new kind of power, not from accomplishment, but from a new reflex. Think it, do it. That's how you take back control. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll wait forever. No one walks into success with a perfect feeling. They walk in because they're tired of standing on the outside. And they don't win because they're better. They win because they started. Started in doubt, in worry, in uncertainty. But they started, and every time they did, they grew stronger than the voices trying to hold them back. You can do the same. You don't need to wait for someone to inspire you. You just need to start faster than your brain can stop you. Power doesn't lie in big moves. It lies in very small actions. Done before fear, laziness, or procrastination takes control. Open your laptop when you feel like reaching for your phone. Write one line when you feel like waiting for inspiration. Do something, anything, before you get pulled back. And keep going. Win one round, then the next, until you're no longer just someone who starts. You become someone who keeps pace, keeps rhythm, keeps yourself. The difference between someone who changes and someone who stays stuck isn't intelligence or knowledge or circumstances. It's this: who acts before resistance shows up? Who dares to shrink the gap between intention and execution down to just a few seconds? And who repeats that daily until it becomes second nature? If you can do that, you don't need to be a genius. You just need to be the person who waits no longer. And from the moment you stop waiting, your life begins to move in an entirely new direction. You don't give up because you're weak. You give up because everything you try to pursue becomes too complicated. The plans you create are killing your own persistence. They're long, they're messy, they look beautiful on paper, but feel heavy in reality. You think that to change your life, you need a highly detailed roadmap, a packed schedule, a bunch of productivity tools, a perfect system, but the truth is far simpler. The people who sustain habits aren't the ones with grand strategies. They're the ones who know how to reduce everything to its simplest form and repeat that every single day. They don't do a lot, they just do it consistently, and that simplicity is exactly what keeps them from quitting. You once wrote a 3-page plan, detailed down to the minute. You once stuck reminders all over your home. You once downloaded dozens of apps to track, measure, and analyze. But what happened then? You got tired, you got bored, you forgot, you started avoiding it. Because the plan that was supposed to help you became a burden. You looked at it and felt pressure instead of motivation, and so you quit. Not because you're incapable, but because you can't carry that weight every day. You need to understand one thing: simplicity is your ally. It's not a side detail. It's the only foundation upon which real consistency is built. Everything complicated is easy to quit. Every plan with too many steps will be abandoned by step 3. You don't need 10 tasks per day. You need one task that you can repeat without excuses. The right plan isn't the one that excites you on day 1. The right plan is the one you can still do on your worst day. If you only read 5 pages a day, by the end of the year, you'll have read over 1,800 pages. If you write a short paragraph each morning, after a few months, you'll have a complete draft. If you work out just 15 minutes each evening, in 6 months, your body will look different, not because of high intensity, but because you didn't quit, because you stripped away the clutter and replaced it with clarity. And clarity is what leads to sustainability. On the flip side, vagueness is the silent enemy. I'm going to take better care of myself. I'll work more efficiently. I'll learn new skills. These phrases sound positive but lead to no specific action. And because they're not specific, you don't know where to start. And when you don't know where to start, you don't start. Then time passes, you feel stuck and don't understand why. But the reason is always there. You haven't made it simple and clear enough. A simple plan can be written in a single line. Just one line, emphasizing one action happening at one specific time. For example, 7 a.m., write 200 words, or 5:30 p.m., walk for 15 minutes. You don't need to detail every aspect of your life. You just need to attach one clear action to one clear time and keep your word to yourself. Do that long enough and it stops being a task. It becomes part of you. That's when you no longer have to force it. You just do it, like brushing your teeth, like eating, like breathing. You won't need motivation if you have a habit. And habit only forms from the regular repetition of a simple plan. There's no other shortcut. Every promise not tied to a simple action will be forgotten. Every burst of inspiration not turned into a small, doable habit will fade. You need simplicity to survive the days when you're tired, unmotivated, overwhelmed, because those are the real tests of perseverance, not the days when you're full of energy. If you need to reset how you approach goals, start with this question: what's the smallest thing I can do each day that still moves me forward? If you can't write 3 pages, write 3 lines. If you can't work out for an hour, do 10 push-ups. If you can't study for 2 hours, study for 5 minutes. You're not doing small things because you're lazy. You're doing them because you're smart. Because you understand that big results only come when the small steps are never skipped. And the one who goes far isn't the fastest, it's the one who doesn't stop. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need a plan to show off. You just need something light enough to carry through the entire journey. A plan that can survive even your worst days. And to make that happen, you need the courage to cut what's unnecessary. Trim, simplify, refine. Don't try to do more, try to do less. Every day you don't skip that important habit, you've already won. And if you repeat that small win long enough, you'll look back and realize you've gone farther than those who always started with grand plans, but never made it to the end. Perseverance is not the ability to do a lot, it's the ability to not skip what matters, even for a day. And what matters can only survive if it's simple enough to make it through any storm. Let go of the illusion that success comes from complexity. It doesn't. It comes from being fiercely consistent with something so simple that there's no excuse left not to do it. That's the only thing you need. And that's the only thing you must hold on to until the very end. At some point in life, you have to sit yourself down, look truth in the eye, and decide, from this moment on, I no longer allow myself to quit. No more using taking a break as a soft way to say giving up. No more making excuses because you're tired, unmotivated, or because it's not the right time. No more negotiating with yourself about stepping back. No more saying things like, maybe this isn't for me. No more, because by now, you know that the old path only leads to one place, starting over with less belief than the last time, and you've become too familiar with that feeling to not know that nothing hurts more than turning your back on what you once believed was important. Quitting is always easy, too easy. You don't have to do anything at all. Just sigh, let go, and say later. But precisely because it's so easy, it becomes a trap, a sweet but ruthless trap. Every time you choose to retreat when difficulty shows up, you're not just postponing a dream, you're teaching yourself the wrong lesson. That walking away halfway is acceptable. You're training yourself to always keep an escape route, always keep a backup door whenever emotions run low. And eventually you'll realize you've become someone who no longer trusts their own commitments. If you don't completely eliminate the option called quitting, you'll always return to it, like a habit, like a reflex, like a default setting whenever things don't go your way. But you need to understand this. Every meaningful journey will have curves, steep climbs, and moments of darkness. You can't get through all of that on inspiration alone. You need a life principle. I don't back down, no matter what. Commitment doesn't come when you feel strong. It comes the moment you face the choice to quit or continue. And you choose to continue. You don't need to achieve something big. You just need to not turn back. That very moment when you're tired, discouraged, doubtful, but still refuse to quit is the moment you begin to change. You are no longer the person who used to give up. You're becoming someone who stays. Someone who keeps their word, someone who stands firm, and that steadiness doesn't need validation. You know it, and in that knowing, you'll feel a strange power rising from within. People don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they always keep a plan B in their heads, a backup exit, a story to explain why they backed out. I tried, but it wasn't the right fit. I did it for a while, but got too busy. I want to go back to it, but I've lost the inspiration. These words may sound reasonable, but if you look closely, you'll see they're just pretty masks for retreat. And if you don't strip them off, you'll keep living in a loop, face difficulty, quit, feel guilty, and start again with less belief than before. Progress doesn't come from being perfect every day. It comes from continuing on the days when you feel your worst, the days you feel lost, the days you feel alone, the days no one believes in you, the days you barely believe in yourself. But instead of giving up, you choose to move forward, not fast, not impressively, just not stopping. That's what separates those who get what they want from those who keep watching from the sidelines. Not talent, not luck, but the relentless refusal to give yourself permission to quit. You don't need to feel strong every morning you wake up. You just need one non-negotiable decision. I will not retreat. Even if the pace is slow, even if no one is cheering, even if results come late, I'm going all the way. Quitting is no longer a solution. Emotions no longer dictate actions. No more giving yourself an exit halfway through. And you don't need to shout this to anyone. You just need to live it every single day. You cannot walk into a life-changing journey while carrying an emergency escape key in your pocket, because there will come a time you'll want to use it, and you will, unless you throw it away from the beginning, you can't stand in the middle of growth and say, if this doesn't work, I'll go back to where I was. You have to burn the boats. You have to make the path forward the only one that exists. No turning back, no safe zone, just one direction forward. You will face setbacks. You will have bad days. You will doubt yourself. But when quitting is no longer an option, you'll see every challenge as temporary. It has no power to stop you because you no longer allow it. You no longer live by emotion. You live by commitment. And that commitment creates a completely new version of you, steadier, stronger, more reliable. People often say to keep your promises to others, but the most important promise is the one you make to yourself. And you've broken it too many times. No one else let you down. It was you. But you don't have to live in that past. You just have to decide, starting today, I will keep my word. No one is forcing you. No one is pushing you, but you know deep down, but if you quit again, you'll have to start over again with another piece of yourself wounded, trust eroded. You don't need to do anything massive today. Just choose this one thing. Keep going. Don't turn back. Don't pause halfway. Don't let emotions lead. Don't let the old story repeat. This is the time you don't retreat. This is the moment you rewrite how you face struggle. And this is the second you choose a stronger version of yourself through one simple act. Don't quit anymore, no matter what happens. No one claps when you wake up early, alone in the winter to build a habit. No one posts about you when you skip the evening party to sit down and finish an unfinished plan. No one notices that today you didn't give up, even though everything inside you wanted to. And that is when you are truly tested. Will you keep doing the hard thing when no one's there to cheer you on, when no one sees it, when all your effort is buried in silence? Do you have the strength to keep going without recognition, without applause, without a single word of encouragement? The growth doesn't happen on the stage. It happens in quiet rooms where you wrestle with yourself hour by hour, minute by minute. No noise, no spotlight, no camera, just you facing the limits you're trying to break. Strong people aren't the ones constantly encouraged. They're the ones who stay committed when the encouragement fades. Truly steadfast people aren't the ones with an audience. They're the ones with standards. And it's in the days no one sees, no one knows, no one cares that the turning point of your life is forged. You've grown up in an era where every effort needs a like, every accomplishment needs a reaction, every change needs a caption. But in reality, the most important things don't need to be announced. They need to be completed quietly, persistently. No one needs to know because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You don't need an audience to take yourself seriously. You don't need applause to know you're doing the right thing. What you need is an internal commitment as solid as stone. I do this because it's right, even if no one sees, even if no one cares. There will be days when you feel invisible. You work hard and no one mentions it. You sacrifice time, sleep, comfort, and receive exactly one thing in return: silence. No feedback, no praise, no immediate result. In those moments, your mind will begin to ask, why am I trying so hard? And that's when you must answer with your own strength. Because I chose this. Because what's right is still right, even when no one notices. If you only act when someone's watching, you're not living. You're performing, and performance is a fuel that runs out fast. You cannot endure the pressures of life driven only by the need for recognition, because there will be many days when the world is too busy with itself to even glance your way. If you can only stay strong with applause, you'll collapse the moment it stops. But if you build your resilience in silence, you won't need anyone to hold you up. You'll stand on your own. You cannot rely on recognition to sustain consistency, because recognition always arrives late, always in small doses, and never enough to fill the deepest voids. What you need is something stronger: self-respect. Self-respect doesn't come from others' eyes. It comes from knowing you did the right thing and didn't walk away from it, even when no one stood beside you. When you learn how to be proud in silence, you free yourself from the addiction to it. And then every action becomes clearer, more grounded, more true. Doing hard things is tiring enough. Doing them alone in silence without praise is even harder. But because it's harder, it's more valuable. Because it sharpens your inner edge in ways no school can teach. It teaches you to live with yourself without external validation. It builds a solid foundation inside you, a place you can rise from again whenever life knocks you down. Not because someone lifts you up, but because you refuse to stay down. The truly strong are the ones who keep going quietly while others are still waiting for motivation. They don't boast, don't narrate, don't explain. They just do. All the way, until the result speaks for itself. And when the result arrives, they still don't need many words, because they know the most valuable thing isn't the achievement, It's who they became during the journey no one applauded. They've learned how to act without needing feedback. They've stepped out of the mindset of seeking permission from the world to live according to their own values. Perseverance doesn't need a spotlight. It needs silence. It needs those unnoticed hours. It needs the mornings when you don't want to get up but do. The evenings when you don't want to work but still do. The times you want to quit but hold on anyway. And when you've accumulated enough of those days, you'll notice something. You've changed. No one has to confirm it, just you. And the undeniable truth, you've grown in silence. You do hard things not to impress others, but to build yourself. You do it not for applause, but to know you're someone you can trust in the dark. You do it not to prove anything, but so that you can look in the mirror each day and know, I'm living right, not for anyone else, but for myself. And one day, the world will look back at you. When that happens, they'll call you resilient, confident, outstanding. They'll ask for your secret, but you'll know there was no secret, only quiet mornings, long nights no one saw, countless moments when you chose to do the right thing, even when no one clapped, and that no one can ever take from you, because it's yours and you earned it with your own strength. You're not short on time, you're not short on ability, you're not short on opportunity. What you're short on is honesty with yourself, and what you have in excess are excuses, dressed up in beautiful, reasonable, polite words. But at their core, they're just laziness in fancy clothing. You call it taking a break to recharge. You say it's protecting your mental health. You say you're waiting for a better time. But deep down, you know exactly what you're doing, procrastinating, avoiding, abandoning. You don't want to face the truth because the truth is uncomfortable. But if you don't call your laziness by its real name, it will keep steering your life without you even realizing it. You could do more, but you choose to do less. Then convince yourself this is enough for today. You can finish the task. But you leave it undone, then say, I need time to be creative. You could sit down and get started, but instead you reach for your phone and tell yourself, I'm just scrolling to relax. You're not lacking awareness. You're overflowing with excuses, and excuses, no matter how well disguised, can never replace action. Laziness isn't doing nothing. Laziness is knowing exactly what you need to do, having the ability to do it, but deliberately choosing something easier, more comfortable with less pressure. Laziness is when you have a goal, but spend hours on things that don't bring you any closer to it, and then convince yourself that you're just too busy. Laziness is when you blame your packed schedule, but that schedule is filled with tasks that are not urgent, not important, and bring no real value. You think you're tired, but what you're really doing is running away from the discomfort that comes with doing the right thing. The danger of laziness is that it doesn't hurt right away. It doesn't cause an immediate crisis. It just leaks quietly, little by little, day by day. And by the time you notice, you've already lost months, maybe years, simply because you kept postponing the important while soothing yourself with very reasonable sounding phrases. It's a slow death, the death of commitment, of discipline, of the dream that once excited you when you started. You don't fall because of a major catastrophe. You lose yourself through thousands of small choices, each time choosing what's easy. You have to learn to interrupt yourself. Every time you're about to procrastinate, don't ask, is this worth doing? Ask, what am I trying to avoid? Not all tiredness is real. Often it's just an excuse to avoid facing uncertainty, insecurity, or discomfort. But no one ever changes themselves in their comfort zone. No one becomes better by always avoiding the hard things. You want extraordinary results. Then stop defending your stagnation with clever excuses. Action is the only antidote to laziness. Not motivation, not inspiration, just action. Even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to. Because it's in those moments when you push yourself to do what feels uncomfortable that you peel up the mask laziness is placed on you. Every time you overcome a minute of hesitation, you rebuild trust with yourself. And if you repeat that often enough, you won't need to try hard anymore. You'll simply become who you are, a version of yourself that no longer lives behind excuses. Don't turn laziness into a reasonable explanation. Don't call it, I just need more time, if all you're doing is sitting and waiting without acting. Don't say, I'll come back to it when I'm ready, if you already know that you'll never truly be ready unless you start before you feel ready. Don't hypnotize yourself with false kindness. You don't need someone to soothe you. You need someone to tell you the truth. And if no one else will, let me do it for you. You're lying to yourself and you know it. If you truly respect yourself, you'll stop covering up your avoidance. You'll look at it directly and name it for what it is. I'm being lazy, and I need to stop. No need for self-punishment, just honesty, because when you're honest, you stop living under the illusion that you have a good reason. You'll see clearly how you've let your life be shaped by convenient choices. And if you don't change, you'll continue to be someone who talks about the things you were going to do but never actually did. You don't need to do everything today, but you must start cleaning up the language in your mind. Stop using fancy words to soften your stagnation. Call it what it is. Take action right after. No promises, no explanations, no waiting for inspiration. Just do what needs to be done, even if it's small, but make it real and do it now. You've wasted enough time on comforting words. Now is the time to live with a more honest language, short, clear, no excuses. It's time you stop needing to feel ready to do the right thing. Just act and let your actions redefine who you are, not the person with all the reasons, but the person with results, not the person who speaks well, but the one who acts consistently, not the one who waits for the right moment, but the one who waits no longer. And from the moment you stop defending your laziness, you will feel free. No longer trapped in the loop of justifications, no longer afraid of judgment, no longer playing the role of the justifiably busy person. You will return to doing what you were born to do. Act. Step by step, day by day, without noise, without needing recognition, but with certainty, authenticity, and enough strength to look in the mirror and say, I've stopped lying to myself, and this time I've truly begun again. You've said enough. You've explained enough. You've justified the delays, the unfinished plans, the goals left hanging. Enough. No one needs to hear another excuse, not even you. You don't need to replay that old story in your head one more time. I'm busy. I'm not ready yet. I'm waiting for the right time. I just need a little more time. They all sound reasonable, but none of them changes anything because no explanation, no matter how smooth, can replace action. And if you don't act, everything else is meaningless. You don't need to convince others to understand. You need to convince yourself to move. What you're lacking isn't approval. It's not sympathy. It's not someone to say, I get it. What you're missing is a clear, non-negotiable commitment to yourself. A commitment that doesn't need to be stated, justified, or rationalized. Just one thing, do it. Get it done. Follow through. Do it without needing recognition. Every time you sit down and make a plan, but don't start, you're teaching your brain that planning is celebrated, but action can be delayed. Every time you tell someone, I'm thinking about doing this or that, but you don't do it, you're building a polished outer image that's hollow on the inside. Every time you come up with a new reason to justify not taking action, you're prolonging the illusion that you're procrastinating. And you know it. Explaining is self-defense. Action is accountability. Someone who's serious about their life doesn't need to talk too much about what they're going to do. They just do it. And they let the results speak for themselves because people who are truly focused don't need noise. They understand that the energy used to explain could and should be used to execute. Every time you say, I will, you're temporarily soothing your guilt for not doing it yet. But that feeling will come back deeper, heavier. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you lose a small piece of trust. And after enough times, you stop believing yourself altogether. You don't need another grand plan. You don't need to write your goals down one more time. You don't need to publicly declare that you're going to change. You just need to be quiet and begin. Do one small thing, make it real, do it now, and repeat every day consistently while others are still talking. You've already made progress. While they're still editing their reasoning, you've already taken a few steps. And those steps, those actions, those are what redefine you. Not what you say you'll do, but what you actually do even when no one's watching. We're all good at explaining, good at reasoning, good at storytelling, good at narrating journeys that never actually started. We say sincerely, I really want to, but, and everything after that, but becomes a curtain hiding the unnamed procrastination. You don't need to say you want to change. You just need to change. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to show it. No speeches, just action. No waiting for perfection. Just begin right in the middle of the imperfection. When you keep explaining, you're delaying results. You're delaying truth. You're delaying your own evolution. And that delay doesn't come from lack of ability. It comes from the habit of thinking that saying something counts as partially doing it. But it doesn't. Saying, it doesn't free you from responsibility. It only delays the disappointment for a moment. And then when you look back, you're still in the same place. And that place, day after day, becomes a pit that's harder to escape because you've decorated it with beautiful explanations. You can change the direction of your life without announcing it. Just do it. You can rebuild trust with yourself, not through promises, but through specifics, through daily actions, through deliberate choices. No reminders needed, no validation required, just you knowing that today you didn't offer an excuse. You did what needed to be done. And that is the beginning of a very different kind of life. You don't need forgiveness for the times you let things slip. You need a second chance. And that chance only comes when you stop talking and start doing. No fanfare, no declarations, just one sentence written, one motion taken, one task completed, then another. Every action is living proof of change. And when you have enough proof, you'll no longer need to prove it with words. Don't let words hollow out your actions. Don't let promises blur the fact that you still haven't started. Let your silence be the loudest thing about you. Let your actions speak for everything you've ever tried to explain. And when the results appear, you won't need to say, I tried. They'll speak for you. Because the world doesn't remember who promised, it remembers who delivered, and you can be that person starting today. If you stop explaining and just do it. Every time you start something and quit halfway, you're sending your brain a subtle message. It's okay not to finish as long as you feel excited in the beginning. You may not notice it, but the things you leave unfinished are quietly eroding your self-trust. You don't fail because you lack talent. You fail because you don't follow through. You leave behind half-learned lessons, half-written goals, half-hearted attempts, and tell yourself, next time will be different. But there will be no different next time unless you start changing how you respond to unfinished things. Because if you keep repeating that pattern, you'll become an expert at starting and never at finishing anything in your life. You must teach your brain a new rule. Once I start, I finish, no matter what. This isn't a motivational quote, it's a life standard. A silent commitment you must hold if you want to build anything meaningful. Because the world doesn't reward people with great ideas, the world rewards people who finish. And if you keep switching to something new every time it gets hard, you'll forever be surrounded by exciting plans, but no outcomes. You'll be remembered as the person who always has interesting ideas, but no one will recall anything you actually completed. You don't have to be great to finish something, you just have to be tough enough not to quit halfway. Successful people aren't always passionate. They succeed because they're disciplined. They face boredom, doubt, resistance, and still keep going. They don't allow themselves to become someone who opens a notebook only to write a new goal, a new project without a single check mark completed. They understand this. Every unfinished task is a small crack in the foundation of self-trust. And if that crack repeats enough times, it shatters. You don't always have to do something big, but you must build a habit of completing the small things. Finish the dishes, fold the clothes, send the email, wrap up the meeting notes, finish the workout, clean the desk, small things, but they form the foundation of a powerful habit. Completing everything you start, each time you reach the end, even for the simplest task, you're teaching your brain, I am someone who follows through. And your brain learns fast. Feed it procrastination, laziness, quitting. It will respond by finding ways to avoid every time you begin something new, but feed it completion, closure, commitment, and it will hardwire that behavior into your new identity. Confidence doesn't come from praise. It comes from the moments you finish what you said you would. It doesn't matter if the task is big or small. What matters is that you didn't walk away from it. You don't need others to call you persistent. You just need to know, I'm no longer someone who quits halfway. And that changes how you see life, not as a trail of unfinished goals, but as a continuous journey of things you've started and finished, one step at a time. Don't let your brain get used to the easy way out. Don't let the things you abandon become normal. Every time you're about to stop, remind yourself, I've come too far to turn back. Whether it's a half-finished workout, a draft halfway written, a book stuck on page 30, go back, finish it, not for anyone else, for you. because you need closure. You need that solid period at the end of everything you touch. And the more often you do that, the more you'll build a quiet kind of strength, the strength of completion. Starting is impressive, but finishing is what builds trust. Want others to believe in you? First, let yourself believe in you. Not through promises, through execution. Not through grand goals, through silent completions. Learn to see something through to the end, even when it takes time, even when it's no longer exciting, even when something shinier tempts you away, because you know the moment you're about to quit is the moment you need to stay. Stay to learn consistency. Stay to overcome inner resistance. Stay to prove to yourself, this time will be different. You are not the person who used to give up. You're the person today, the one who chooses to follow through even when it's not easy. And every time you complete something, you erase a little of that old version of yourself, the one who used to quit, used to stall, used to live in half-made promises. You're rewriting your trust profile, one completed task at a time, one note scribbled, done. And you'll be surprised how quickly your thinking shifts, your emotions shift, your life shifts. Because you no longer live among unfinished things. You live in clarity with beginnings and endings. From now on, let one question guide you. Did I finish what I started? If not, go back and finish it. Even if it's small, even if no one notices, but you notice. And that's the only thing that makes the difference. You don't need others to see you as persistent. You need to live as someone who truly is. And that has nothing to do with how many times you start. It has everything to do with how many times you finish. No one is going to show up at the perfect moment to pull you out of the mess you're stuck in. No one will appear with a flawless plan, a steady hand, or a miracle that changes your life overnight. There's no magical phone call. There's no one who understands you so deeply they can just look at you and know what you need. And there's no savior called circumstance. If you're waiting for someone or something to change so that you can finally start living up to your potential, you're wasting your life because no one's coming. The only person who can save you is you. Don't get it wrong. There will be people who love you, people who comfort you, maybe even someone to listen to, encourage, to walk part of the journey with you, but no one can walk it for you. No one's getting up at 5 a.m. on your behalf. No one's putting down your phone for you so you can focus. No one's standing in the middle of your fear to make your decisions. No one's bearing the consequences for the things you left undone. No one's pulling you out of your comfort zone if you still choose to stay there. And no one's living your life for you. No one. You could spend years waiting for someone who gets you, someone who sees your worth, someone who shows up with the opportunity you've been hoping for. But during that whole time, you'll be abandoning yourself. You'll refuse to do what needs to be done simply because no one is pushing you. You'll wait for inspiration, wait for the right time, wait for someone else to go first. But that waiting is making you weaker by the day. Because every time you delay action waiting for an external push, you're telling yourself, I'm not strong enough to do this alone. And if you repeat that long enough, it becomes true. Having become the person you've been waiting for, the one clear-eyed enough to see the problem, the one strong enough not to blame, the one resilient enough not to surrender, the one honest enough to stop telling the same old story, I can't do anything because no one's with me. No one stays with you forever. And if you're not strong enough to stand on your own, you'll always be dependent on the outside world. But if you dare to stand in the dark, you become the light. Not for the world, for yourself. You must learn how to rescue yourself each time chaos hits. When everything falls apart, when people walk away, when support disappears, you must be the one to rise out of despair with bare hands. No one sees it, no one claps. But that's when you're being forged. Not on a stage, in the background, not with cheering, with quiet commitment. No one teaches you how to be strong. But you'll learn by refusing to choose weakness as your way out. Here's the truth. Others may care about you, but no one else is responsible for you. No one is obligated to fix your life. No one is going to pay for the times you've been lazy, delayed, or impulsive. And no one is required to understand you. You need to understand yourself. And you need to act even when no one understands. Because if you're not strong enough to walk alone, you'll never truly be strong enough to walk with anyone. You cannot build your life on the shaky foundation of waiting for others to change. You can't expect that someday, somehow, you'll accidentally meet the right person, the right chance, the right moment. There's no lasting breakthrough in coincidence. Only people who are relentless with themselves, regardless of circumstance, loneliness, or everything around them screaming, not yet, they don't begin. and that's why they go further than everyone else, still standing still, hoping someone will lead the way. The world owes you nothing. You may have faced loss, injustice, pain. You may have been born into scarcity, raised under pressure. But the only thing you can control is what you do with all of that. Will you use it as your excuse to stop, or will you use it as fuel to break through? No one can save you from that choice. And if you choose wrong, you will pay the price. No one else pays for your consequences. That's the truth you need to face. No one's coming, but you can show up. Every morning, you can show up for yourself with a choice. To begin again, to keep going, to not give up. Every night you can look back and ask yourself, today did I save myself? Not with a heroic act, but with small things. Not scrolling when you needed to focus. Not stalling when you felt tired. Not making excuses when it got harder than expected. You don't need a dramatic rescue. You just need to keep choosing not to abandon yourself. When you start living with that mindset, you will change. You'll stop looking to others to pull you forward. You'll stop living in the expectation that someone else will see you as worthy. You will see yourself as worthy and act accordingly. You'll work kindly, seriously, consistently, not for anyone, but because you've stopped believing the fantasy that someone else will save you from yourself. Only you can do that. You're not a victim. You're the one rewriting the script. And if you dare to see life that way, you won't need someone to rescue you. You'll need a decision, a step, a moment to pause and say, enough. From today, I no longer live as someone who waits. And in that moment, you become the person you always hoped would appear, the one who saves you, not with a miracle, but with commitment, with action, and with one undeniable truth: no one came, but you chose to rise. And this time, you're not turning back.